Hey, you're being recorded.
Yeah. No. She understands.
It was just stop and clarify because we hadn't done.
I'll see lady drive away. I didn't know like 2 miles an hour. She stopped in the back parking lot around it. I was like, did you not give me?
I'm not either red. I'm scared that they're hitting a sign in the middle of the street and they will hit the sign. And that's what we try to prevent.
This is your
That's why I colored it.
I watched somebody drive like 2 miles an hour. Stopped, backed up, and then went around it, and I was like, dead center of the car. So now like bumped it, trying to get around and just misjudged. She had to win.
I believe every contract's going to have home out or museum drive by.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I charge her. Yeah, when they find out these things cost $500, maybe people start paying attention when they are. Oh, yeah. I'm still like that. I'm almost a little bit under that price now. The one on, I think the one on home got hit, and then the one over here. Dragged it down the street.
I thought that you waste your crosswalk.
And I said,
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please face and back for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stacy, could you please take roll call?
Mr. Stout?
Here.
Ms. Cook? Here. Mr. Polinsky?
Here.
Sorry, I don't have my list here. Mayor Miller?
Here.
Ms. Falcone? Here. Mr. Haney?
Here.
Mrs. Stout?
Here.
I'm here too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. I'm so sorry.
Make a note for a record that we did have an executive session on May 7th regarding the ongoing labor negotiations with the Teamsters Local 773, and as well as offer submission for hiring a part-time administrative assistant in the office. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes that were provided for us for review? I do want to do these ones separately just because they're almost a year apart there. So if I could have a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then again, if I could see, I hear a motion to approve the minutes from April 10th, 2023.
There's one part that I don't understand. 2023, on the fourth page, it says the property at 586 Sealy Avenue was condemned on Friday, April 7th, 2024. twenty twenty-three.
What page?
Oh, yeah.
4?
Yeah. Some of it's not in there.
It's probably because they were typed in 2024, but that should be changed
To
to
23.
23. Thank you.
Okay, so then I guess a motion pending that change.
I'll make that motion. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, any opposed? Okay. As you guys can all see, we have a pretty long agenda this evening. Most of this under communications, is pretty standard stuff that we do every year, so I just, if everybody's had a chance to look it over. If you have any questions about anything under communications, let's bring that up now, and then we can just, make a motion to approve as the agenda states. Any questions? The only thing I do want to bring up myself would be the request for the $50 donations to fire police. Do we know how many they're looking for?
Last year, they only got 2 more than last year.
Okay.
We already.
5, 6,
We already have agreed to give them 6,000 for the parade, right?
correct, in the budget.
And they would like another $50.
No, that's contained in the budget. But as a courtesy or, you know, asking permission to do this, I believe asking council's permission to do this on behalf of council is what Mr. Klein is asking for.
Okay, so our donation to them will be $6,050 in total?
No, it's already contained in the budget line item.
That's all I need.
Okay, so if there's no questions, no opposition, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the stated items under communications in the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I do want to take 1 second though to thank Mr. Leo Scott for his service on the planning commission. He was a tremendous asset, and we really appreciate him being here. And hopefully he'll always pick up the phone if we have a question here or there. All right, mayor's report.
The Teacocks had their fishing derby, I believe it was May 5th. It was raining, I was down there for a few hours before it got too wet, but a decent turnout for the weather, and it looked like they were all catching them pretty good, so that was good to see. And the only other thing I've seen the borough got pedestrian crossing signs, which is nice, if people just kinda read them and follow them. I know the one on Home Avenue's taking a beating, it's on the side of the road half the time. Looks like it's been hit, but I walk my dogs every day and no one yields and no one does 25, so anybody here or watching on TV, please slow down for people in a crosswalk. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, guys. Chief Ballshafer, what happens next?
Good evening, thank you. Activity recap for Topton Borough, 894 patrol miles, 81 patrol hours. We handled 21 incidents, no crashes, which is always good. Issued 20 traffic citations, did an additional 7 hours of traffic checks, 3 hours of paperwork, 29 vehicle stops in total. And my CI completed 5 hours of follow-up and 2 hours of court time for patrol. We handled 2 incidents of note: illegal dumping. We were able to ID the offender. We gave them the opportunity to go back and clean up the items that they dumped. Of course, they complied. We did not charge them. And then we had another weapons offense from the handgunner where prohibited individual attempted to purchase a firearm. The felony charges were filed and we obtained a warrant for him. And a citation for Topton: 8 parking, 4 speeding, 4 school zone violations, 2 expired registrations, 1 driving under suspension, and 1 obedience to traffic control devices. Nothing to report for personnel. Equipment, I purchased 3 used hand units, portables. Got them pretty cheap, but they work. So we're still working on trying to get them set up for use. And the other thing I have is we're participating in a Fleetwood family summer event in conjunction with the Tri-Valley YMCA down on Crisscross Road. It's continued June 1st, 1 to 3. It's good for the kids. Bring them out to get some free ice cream and some other activities they have going on. And also this year, August 6th, we'll be participating in Topton's National Night Out, which I believe is still in the works.
Yeah, that's all the way in August, man.
Well, they start the meetings for National Night Out like 2 months ago already.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, so, but that's different places, different.
I'll get in touch with Maria.
Yeah. So.
And you will be helping this Wednesday too. Thank you very
Yes.
much for volunteering your officers.
Yeah, Wednesday evening. And what it's for license
License
plate.
plate swap.
So we'll be here for that as well. And I believe that's 4 to 6 p.m. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
All right, hearing visitors, does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss?
I'd like to bring up an issue. Could you explain to me why, out of all the organizations in my lifetime that I went to, when it came to minutes, they were either read to the public or provided for public for view before the minutes were approved? And can you explain why Topton Borough doesn't either read the minutes or have minutes available for us to review so we can make corrections or additions to the minutes?
I would defer to Joan
Yeah.
because of them being in the draft format.
When they're in draft form, they're not required to be provided in advance. As soon as they're approved, they're considered to be the official record of the meeting. The borough can, but isn't required to provide the draft minutes in advance.
But okay, so you're telling me in a draft form, nobody has the right on the public side to make any corrections?
Well, in the draft form, there's no right to access of draft minutes under the right to know law. However, again, once they're approved, they're a public document, public record, and they are the record of the meeting. It's up to the body to correct the minutes. If you see in approved minutes something that is not correct, bring it to the attention at the next meeting, and it will be in the minutes of the next meeting that you believe something was incorrect.
So in other words, you're saying that we have to come to a borough meeting or borough office and receive a copy of the approved minutes before?
You can also request them via email.
Okay.
And they're on the borough website.
Yeah, once approved, they're on the borough
Are
website.
they on the borough website? I could not find them, so they are there.
As well as the agendas. And
I
for
saw the
other-
agendas, but I could not find the borough meetings minutes. Okay, all right, I just guess I didn't see that.
All right, so just go the next meeting after if there's
Okay.
any questions,
That's correct, yes.
even though that's not, okay. I mean, all the meetings that I went to in the past, it was either read or you had a copy, not here, but,
Municipalities don't generally read the minutes because of time constraints. Generally, that's not done in municipal practice. In some private organizations, it's done. In private organizations, there's usually a motion to waive the reading of the minutes.
if they have minutes available.
Which is usually adopted. But yes, I mean, it's distributed within the Borough Council, and among all of the members of Borough Council, if there is an error, Borough Council, somebody is going to see it and bring it to the attention of the board, just like Ms. Cook found an error in a date, brought it to the attention of the board, and the minutes were approved with that correction. They have to trust that seven individuals and a mayor will, seeing these minutes, will correct an error.
I'll just say, from past experiences, from not this group here, but the past people, minutes weren't accurate. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just want to say thank you to the borough maintenance crew. We had a water emergency leak in our house that required the water to be turned off temporarily. And they were there really quick and very graciously did that. So we really appreciate the responsiveness of the.
Thank you, I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that.
Yes, good.
Alright, if there's nothing else, then we'll move on to the solicitor's report.
Alright, this is, the address that, Ms. Cook mentioned, under the minutes, which is, 546 Celia Avenue. There are a number of, bills for, sewer and water, late fees, disconnection charges, finance charges on this property, as well as, pest control that are being incurred with the condemnation of the property that was mentioned a few minutes ago. I've contacted the appointed guardian for the owner of the property who is not living in the property because of health problems, and the guardian is Elder Care Solutions, Inc. of Williamsport. They were appointed as the guardian for the property owner. I've contacted their director, her name's Deborah Berrigan, also the real estate director, her name is Megan, I don't have a last name, both in writing and via voicemail messages to alert the guardian to the situation. Elder Care Solutions Incorporated was substituted as a guardian for a family member on December 7th, 2020. And I've confirmed the guardianship with Ms. Foss, former attorneys, as well as with Elder Care Solutions. It's my position that, and I believe it's council's, that the guardian needs to step up, even though it's a corporate guardian from out of town, to reimburse the borough for these costs already expended, which right now is $1,393.62. And they need to take over the responsibility, including securing it from unauthorized entry, as well as the upkeep, or as a guardian has the power to do if the person and the estate of an incapacitated person to sell the real estate and apply the proceeds to the individual's care. We have the option right now of further enforcement for these conditions, as well as the filing of liens, and that process has begun. I have our office working on preparation of liens and giving the notices required for collection of our firm's fees to do so. And perhaps it gets the agency's, the guardian's attention to do so. I believe we have authorization for enforcement and for the filing of liens, well, not for the filing of liens, but for enforcement. And we'll be discussing liens and possible thresholds for the filing of liens under other parts of the agenda. But again, this is a matter where there is a guardian, there is someone who is legally responsible for this property and needs to take responsibility. And the other item is the meeting with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 773. That was already addressed in the agenda. There was an executive session on May 7th where that was discussed, and council was further updated on the status of those negotiations in terms of handled that aspect of it. If you have any questions after the meeting, I'd be glad to take it back to Attorney Rowland. And that's all I have. Other items, such as the co-op purchase of the tractor trailer and the Logan Watershed property contract are elsewhere in the agenda.
Okay. Thanks, John. Stacy.
If the two people who just entered would not mind signing in before you leave this evening, there is a sign in near that table, on that table. Okay, the ambulance 2023 report is now available if anyone would like to view that. It is for their financials for the year ended 2023. The Kutztown Pool, again, is open for our Topton residents. Everyone must come to the office first, and that agreement is this season and then the 2025 season. The insurance claim for the roof on our Public Works building is now closed, and the work has begun and is almost finished, and is being inspected by Barry Ison and Associates employees on a regular basis to make sure that it's going well, and it has been. We received a notification from our potential software company that Borough Council approved as us to be able to switch over, sign the agreement with. They were merged or sold to a new company, but kept the exact same pricing. Their name is G-Works, so I'm just letting everyone know that the software changeover has not started, but will start this year, just as planned, but a little later than planned. And then under financials, Kathy will be explaining that our sewer loan and recreation loan are coming up to be paid, so times are tight, but Tom Cliff, the tax collector, is helping us reimburse the general fund with at least bringing in some tax dollars. And we did purchase 4 new crosswalk signs. We just put them out Friday, and 2 are pretty well beat up already. So please slow down on our streets. They're for the kids. That was the path of connectivity that the park is only a part of, and the streets are the other part. Please slow down. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Moving on to committee reports. Carol.
Source water protection plan, nothing. More emails sent and no response whatsoever.
So we did get a response from PennDOT on April 18th. They said they were finalizing their review. Of course, they haven't responded since April 18th. I don't know why 4 signs are such a big deal.
They didn't copy me on that.
Mm-mm.
That's fine. Well, they got another email last week that they haven't responded to from me.
We were able to deliver letters to the potential sources of contamination, just alerting them to the fact that they had been flagged by the study, essentially.
Thank you.
No. Anything for support?
Not for source water, municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4. I'm hoping to have a school program this summer. Needs coordination with the library, and I don't know that their topic this summer is gonna blend well with that, but hopefully they're clever, they can figure it out maybe. MS4 Monday is still going on Facebook. Office is doing a great job with that. And I guess that's all.
Okay, thank you. Carol, I'm sorry, Carol just went, Elaine.
Okay, lien policy, we had discussed this last meeting. It related to the property that was condemned and the amount of money that was incurred for fees. We don't have a set price for our lien policy. Right now it's open, so Joan.
I have seen, the reason for having a threshold for liens is because there are filing fees attached and there is law firm time attached to it. I mean, this is something that I supervise, but in order to save costs, I have a very skilled collections paralegal assist me on it. But there's still fees legal fees that are involved in addition to the filing fees and costs that go with the filing of liens. However, there has to be enforcement because when individuals don't pay and don't make the attempt to pay, everyone else is carrying them. So there has to be a threshold or some middle of the road solution where it's obvious that the individual either isn't able to pay or is refusing to pay. thresholds I've seen in different municipalities are usually either $500 or $1,000 in, delinquent, fees. There are some where there is no threshold at all, they want to collect. And it is important to do so even over smaller amounts of money, because a lien will place a cloud on the title, and in the event that the property is sold, those liens get paid first, so that clear title passes, every title company sees to that. Also, in the event of a tax sale, foreclosure sale, those lien amounts go on the sheriff's schedule of distribution. In the event of a bankruptcy, you file them as part of your proof of claim, and in those cases, maybe you don't get the whole amount, but you're within the distribution list. So if you discover a property is up for sheriff's sale or foreclosure, you should file a lien immediately regardless of the amount. You may not even be able to collect the attorney's fees for it, but at least you'll get at least part of the money at the time of sale. When it's less urgent and there isn't a sale, that's when you maybe need to consider a lien threshold of, as I said, either $500 or $1,000.
What approximately is the cost to put in?
I think the costs altogether are around $300, $200 to $300 when you get with the filing fee, which I forget the exact fee, filing fee, service, and as I said, attorney's fees.
What's a ballpark on attorney fees? I mean, just range, I know you can't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually not a lot of time. It's usually, as I said, mostly paralegal time. I supervise it. I look at it, I make sure it's the right address. I look at the arithmetic. I look and make sure the notice requirement's been met and the correct document and the correct deed is attached. So for my time, we're talking about 2/10 of an hour to look over a lien document, 1 to 2/10 of an hour. For the paralegal's time, takes approximately, especially if you're doing large numbers of them, probably about 20 to 30 minutes per lien. It doesn't take a lot of time. Now, sometimes there are a lot of bills involved. There's a lot of calculations involved. There's more than one property, more than one tax ID number on the deed. Sometimes these can get complicated, but in the garden variety case, it's a simple process.
So 500, maybe?
Less than that in attorney's fees. As I said, all told, I believe that the fees add up in the $300 range for some of them.
And
To
then
looking at the break, well, no, including filing and attorney's fees.
Yeah, the 200 included.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can send you sample liens that our office has filed that show the exact breakdown, because the breakdown is in the lien itself between the principal amount due, the late fees or penalties, the court costs, and the counsel fees. It's all broken down in there.
So the question is, do we want to leave it open-ended where we can just make a decision individually with a case if it comes before us? Or do we want to set some type of a threshold of what's been incurred before we?
I mean, you can also say this, you can also say as a guideline, this is what it usually is, but in certain situations, it may be less or more than that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a hard and fast rule. You can talk in terms of guidelines rather than a strict hard and fast rule.
I guess, I don't really see
We really don't have to set a number.
much point in changing anything,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, unless we feel that we need to be strict about the number.
Do it on a case-to-case basis.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is now.
I mean, there aren't that many.
No, and I think by the time we're actually talking about this kind of stuff, you're down $500 and stuff.
Is there a situation we don't have our eye on the ball, the property gets sold and we lose the money?
Yes, it can happen if it's not done through a title company. Most sales are done with a realtor and a title company. But if there's no title company involved, that can happen, but these charges go with the property, just like the liens are, it's called in rem. They go with the property, they're not in person, they're not with the person, they're with the property. So if they're not cleared, they're going to go with the property to the next owner. That's why title companies are so strict about having those liens paid.
What about pursuing, personal judgments and the cost to do that, because that's also an option.
You can do that, and I do collections work, not as much as I used to, but I do some for Reading Area Water Authority. And one of the things that they do in some cases is pursue a magisterial district judge action against the property owner to get a judgment against the person, as well as file a lien against the property. If one gets satisfied, both get satisfied. You're not gonna double dip. But yes, you can do that. But again, those amounts are not small amounts of money. The ones I've seen have been in the thousands up to the $12,000 threshold for the magisterial district judge. It's not something you're gonna do over $250, $500. It's gonna be in the thousands and maybe closer to the 5 figures than the 4 figures.
So it won't be easy cost to do that.
There's fees and costs. There's the filing fee with the court. Then there can also be a cost to have the sheriff's office or constable serve the individual. And then you actually have to go for a hearing in front of the magisterial district judge, which requires me to travel to Ole, your Judge Sheffo's district, so I'd have to travel to Ole and prepare for what amounts to a mini trial. So it is more expensive. It's not cost effective for small amounts. For larger amounts, that is an answer.
Alright,
The difference is that the person who's the perpetrator of the fines and fees, if they have a personal judgment, it really stays with them. That affects their credit moving forward. Is there any way we can attach the wages? That's maybe something that could be done.
You don't get wage attachment in Pennsylvania for this type of collection. You get it for spousal or child support and for certain landlord-tenant cases, but not for utility bills.
alright, so is there, I mean, it kinda looks like we feel like we just leave it the way it is. There's no real need to just set a threshold, because I think that, especially in a borough this small, you're gonna have unique circumstances and things.
Yep.
Okay.
Very often it's a case of separating the work days from the camp days.
Right.
We will need some guidance on 546 Celia though.
Yeah. So did you wanna do that under utilities, or because it's gone past utilities?
Right. It's in the agenda, so we're free to, under both because of lien policy and under my report, so we're free to discuss it and make a motion on it.
What is it that you need, direction on?
Whether to file a lien for the amounts due. Right now, as of today, the amount is close to $1,400.
Yeah. Okay.
We were saying you were in touch with the guardianship to see if they could pay it. Where are we?
Where we are now is they acknowledged my email to them, which was a detailed email about the issues that we're having with the need for the conditions on the property to be remediated, as well as the costs that were incurred. That email was referred to the director, Ms. Bergen, and also to the real estate manager there. I left a voicemail message today to follow up on that, and so I'm continuing to follow up on it. But what I would like is authorization, for our office to file a lien on 546C.
I mean, that's what I think we should do.
It needs a motion.
Yes, yes, in this
I'll
case.
make a motion that we do file the lien.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And then for the next item on my agenda would be personnel. We have found someone to take the part-time administrative assistant position. Her name is Brenda Hensinger. She is local. We would like to make a motion to hire her subject to the normal background checks at a rate of $16 per hour, with $1 additional and 30 hours of personal time off after her 6-month probationary period. I'd like to make a motion to approve her hiring.
The background check would include the last employer check.
So what we currently do is,
Our current procedure.
yeah,
Great.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
that concludes my report.
Thank you, Lynn. All right, Dan, you're up.
I'd like to request approval of 2 resolutions. They're intermunicipal, it's easy for me to say, cooperation agreements, and they're specifically in regards to the ownership and maintenance of the truck and trailer that the co-op purchased.
Okay, these were, reviewed, negotiated, among the municipalities. They are in final form as they're, before council, and, they are, ready to be signed.
So we have a motion, we can get a second.
I'll make the motion.
Bill second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dan. Kathy?
As Stacy said, there is a rather large payment coming up at the beginning of June, and the general fund will have to float a little bit to help sewer to cover their part of the payment. And she will take care of doing that. I would also like to ask your approval for a motion to approve bills and transfers as they have been presented.
I had a question, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Stacy could answer this. On the first page of the bills, I'm just curious, there's a bill about 2/3 of the way down for EFTPS via internet.
Okay, that is.
47, what is that? I'm just curious.
So, federal and state require filing and payment of employment taxes on a bi-weekly basis and a quarterly basis, and that is one of those.
That's the employment tax that's being
Correct.
sent. Okay.
And in this case, that's the federal agency.
Gotcha, all right, thank you.
And then my path right below that is the state.
Yes, okay.
So we have a motion to approve the list of bills and transfers. Do we have a second?
Who made the motion?
Kathy?
Oh, I thought you requested it, I
No, I
apologize.
requested the motion.
You can just make it.
Oh, okay, I make
There
a
you go.
motion to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll do that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All, any opposed? All right, thank you.
And then we'd like to discuss the ambulance request to amend the current reimbursement procedure. As you can see, there is from 2020 in there where it was discussed and that they should be submitting invoices or receipts for equipment in order to get the reimbursement. My feeling is at this point it should stay that way. We have better control over it. Plus it's included in our audit then, rather than just, one of their people doing the audit of their accounts. Monica? Yeah, Monica's back there, maybe she could.
They had requested a change with the other municipalities also going to the tax to try to have it kind of the same throughout all of them. And it would kind of let them know what they have at the moment per se a little bit better if they're getting more lump sum reimbursements than the submission. So that was the reason for the request to change that.
will they be doing regular audits then?
Yes.
Rather than just having somebody within an internal or audit? Will they be hiring a firm to do it?
I have to check to see how they're doing it, because Long Swamp used to take care of that.
Okay, and see, with it being the way that we're doing it now, it's covered under our audit.
Right.
You know, so that's why it's kinda leave it the way it is for now.
Well, it was just an ask, just to try to see if everybody can just be the same.
Be uniform.
Yeah.
I personally, you know, it's my, I shouldn't say personally, my feelings are that, we leave it the way it is right now.
How do we currently do it, Kathy?
They give, papers, they give bills for reimbursement, they show paperwork, they give all backup documentation showing what money is needed, and then it's dispersed to them.
Okay, how much, are they normally typically, does that happen to us on a monthly basis?
It depends on what their needs are. You know, if they need it for the mortgage payment, if they need, you know, you never know.
And that's normally not us. See, and that's why they wanted to change it, because the one reimbursement from the one township is late. So that's why the past couple requests are ones we normally don't see.
Yeah.
But because they're behind from someone else.
They're behind, okay.
Yeah. So those last ones were a little different than what we normally see.
But, you know, I think it should just like stay the way it is right now.
I agree.
You know, the way that we are doing it, we have better control over it and more audit.
Is it, Monica, are they running into trouble in certain spots, or would this just make it easier for them?
No, it would just make it easier.
Okay.
Being they, got more territory now, there's more truck usage, so there's more expenses.
I mean, I think, it's something that we can certainly explore and leave open, as I would leave it the way it is now, but, that would be my thoughts on it, and then, but you're right, they've taken on new territories, things are changing, they may see things change, and we can always, we wanna work with them to make it work the best way it can. But she's right, audits and things like that, until at least we figure out how that's gonna work, or what the ramifications of that,
Yeah, I think right now, just leave it the way it is. How do you feel, Monica?
Oh, it's not my call.
I mean, that's how I would feel, is that, like, we're not gonna change it tonight.
Yeah.
But certainly worth looking into how we can make it work better for everybody involved.
I would have liked just either, I realize when we get the tax money, it's not all here at one time, so possibly 3 reimbursements throughout a year per se. Less checks for everyone to be writing in there.
Yeah, why don't we sit down with them, or some of us sit down with them and work on what do they need, what can we do, where can we, and we'll put it together. That sounds good to everybody.
Yes. And we also need to see what the availability is for us to provide that money in our budget, and how much goes out, right? We've got to make sure we're not sending out money we haven't collected yet. I don't know how that comes in.
Well, right, and that's why it would have to be more than 2 reimbursements. You've got your big hunk in the beginning, some others flying in, and then, the latter ones towards the end of the year, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or the last of the year could come first quarter of next. I don't know if that would work right for you guys, though.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Let's sit down and see what, when do they know when they typically need to purchase things, when they have their bills come up. We can look at when, taxes tend to come in, and then we'll come to some sort of, figure something out, yeah.
We can see. Okay, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Kathy, and that brings us to me. So the first thing I just want to touch on quickly is that I met with Mrs. Acosta they just started the Bullet Academy up at the school, which is a 0 to 5 program. It's not a preschool, but it's more working on engagement between the parents and the students and stuff. They're seeing some kids come into kindergarten that are struggling to be ready for school. So they're hoping to get out there a little bit more and work with the parents to get kids a little bit more up to speed, so they're not falling behind. And on top of that, they were also able to get linked up with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, which provides a free book for anybody who signs up from, I guess, whenever you sign up until their 5th birthday, you get 1 a month, you know, which is a pretty fantastic program. And for a while, we didn't qualify. I'm not exactly sure, but Mr. Parker and Ms. Acosta and others at the school have been working hard to get us into that. So I just wanted to make mention of those. And then we're starting the discussions this year for the borough's donations and then what we've done in the past and what we do in our budget discussions. Not really too much to talk about tonight, but kind of wanted to throw it out there so that we're not in October having everybody go, wait, we don't know if we're gonna give this money to these people or those people, you know, and then largely we're talking about things like the library and fire and EMS and all that stuff. So kind of just put it on the agenda to say we're gonna start discussing those. I don't know if anybody has anything they wanna talk about tonight. I certainly didn't come with any specific points about it at the moment, other than we've looked at things in the past, and obviously everybody understands the borough is tight, and we need to, yeah, I don't wanna say, you know, cut things necessarily, but we need to adjust how things have been done in the past and then look at alternate ways of trying to keep all the services and the things that we love without breaking the system to do it.
Could you provide a list of the donations we're going to discuss in the future?
Yeah, we can pull it from the budget and see what we typically do. I think, you know, part of that was kind of if we bring it up and we say it, then those organizations who know they are going to ask us for something are probably gonna, you know, start getting, we're hoping to get involved in the conversation.
Well, one of them is the library.
Yeah.
Only because it's disproportionate, like big time. What
Huge.
we pay to the library is, in some cases, triple, quadruple what the other townships pay.
And part of that, I think, is discussions with those municipalities as well. I think our upcoming joint comp plan talks are a good opportunity to bridge those gaps and get those conversations going.
There is a 4 municipality agreement regarding the library, which I've never seen. Are you familiar with it, Stacy or Joan? That was mentioned at some point, that 4 of us went in together, I don't know, to get the library started or to support it.
Yeah, if it was when the library started, that would have been before my time, and I am familiar with an intermunicipal agreement from about when I first started in 2008 on recreation programs.
Okay.
But not library.
I've never seen anything or heard of anything specifically on paper that we were. It's more, my understanding of it was that they need this much and they get matched by that, and that is what they were asking of the municipalities that they reached out to, which would make up the, you know, the school district. So I don't know that it was on paper, but kind of a gentleman's agreement, if you want to say it that way, or something along those lines. There's a lot of things where.
Well, the hope was to get them early on the other townships, to get them to bring their amount up a little. To
Yeah,
us.
yeah, that's what we'd like to see, yeah.
We had many people here from Long Swamp Township complaining to us and not going to their township meeting to ask them to contribute more of their tax money towards the library. They pay a third or a quarter, as Michelle said, than what we do. So our taxpayers are actually floating the library, subsidizing it for Long Swamp and Rockland. It's benefits, and district. District, they pay almost nothing, I think. So it is a good idea to talk about it early on.
Well, they're at 251 is the highest below us. We're 7.25 per capita. So it's so incredibly out of balance. And one, Rockland is only 1.38 per capita. We're over 7, so.
And again, I wouldn't suggest we cut the funding.
No, it's about.
That we can dial ours back and that the others step up, and so that the library still gets.
Right, that's it, yes.
The library needs to really look at what they need to do to get their funding.
Well, yeah, that's why we're here, because we didn't want to leave it until budget time, so that they have time to work, you know, go to the other municipalities and be like, hey, you know, Topton needs to cut us back, so we need you to make up the difference, essentially.
Alright. I don't have anything other than I was gonna piggyback on guys saying and what Stacy said again, please, everybody just slow down. Now moving on, we'll go to Eric.
The logging agreement that we've been talking about the past couple months has finally gotten to the point where we both execute, to sign the agreement. There's a couple things left for Jacob Schultz, who is the logger, to provide the borough with workman's compensation and have us additionally insured on the liability. Other than that, everything else, the minor changes that we talked about at the last meeting have all been taken care of. So what I'm looking tonight is to get approval from you to sign the agreement to get the logging going.
It's contingent on those insurance issues.
Contingent on those two.
Are you making the motion?
Wait.
As soon as Carol has a question.
I think there's a conflict where they say they're gonna administer the timber harvest in compliance with all local, state, federal guidelines for best management practices. That sounds great. But then, back on page 3, they say that at bottom page 2 and page 3, we're gonna indemnify and hold each other harmless from any losses, costs, claims, expenses, suits, damages, or liabilities of any nature arising from the owner agent's performance of work on this contract. Well, they're saying they're gonna oversee it so that everything is done. If they do what we say on paragraph D, 2D, then why would we need to indemnify them for not doing 2D?
Okay, I think I can
You can
answer that.
Go ahead,
If you look at the top of page 3, the indemnification is injury or death to persons or damage to property unless caused by gross negligence. It's not about violation of a regulation, it's about using negligent practices that cause trees to fall on cars, houses, or people. So that's the bigger concern. The regulatory is something entirely different. That's my reading of this part of
Okay,
it.
well, I'm concerned about that damage can be done. This is our watershed, this is wells, and damage can be done that would severely impact the borough, and this says we won't hold them responsible.
Okay,
Although they say they're overseeing it, so I'm not sure.
This is the administrator agreement, the timber broker agreement. This is different than the actual forester. The forester's contract is going to be far more detailed. And Eric, you were going to say?
We're gonna be going through this again. With this, we're giving him permission to go in and mark all the trees,
Okay,
which he then gives to the logging company.
okay,
So we'll need an agreement with them at that time, first of all, to agree on the price that they're giving us, and also get all their insurances and everything. It's a two-fold process. This is to let Jacob's team go in and survey, mark everything.
okay. So this has nothing to do with the harvesting?
No, it's just
No,
marking.
he does not do the harvest.
It's marking the
He's,
trees.
like Joe said, he's a broker.
Right, it's marking the trees that appear to be quality trees for harvesting. The actual harvesting takes place with a different contractor, with a different agreement that's gonna be a lot more detailed about the use of good stewardship and best management practice.
So what does it mean when they say that they're gonna be the ones administering the timber harvest?
They're gonna oversee
They're
it.
gonna oversee it,
They're,
that they're gonna administer it.
they're, right, they oversee it, they mark the trees, they give the idea of which trees should be taken, because there are good quality and poor quality.
I understand that part. I understand the selection of trees.
And then there's
All
also
the
the
things where damage can be done.
and there's
Correct,
also,
and that's gonna be under another agreement.
right, and
Carol,
that's
these people do this
also
for a living,
handling
like, I mean,
payments.
entire businesses and feed their families, pay their mortgages, all of that. They know what they're doing.
And they carry insurance.
And accidents can happen no matter what insurance, how much they know what they're doing and all of that stuff, so you're always taking a risk.
Yeah, but in here it's saying it's on us if there's an accident, not on them.
But I mean, vote the way you want to. We have a motion.
So it's $1 million.
Which doesn't then-
Also on,
Like I said, this has nothing to do with the actual cutting of trees.
this was mentioned in a previous meeting, paragraph 7, subparagraph D. I think the wording is wrong. It's, the second line says, represent my interests at all times. Who is my? I think it should say owner's interest at all times.
My interest, the borough, it refers to the borough, so my is the borough.
And how do we know that? Because it's talking about
Because-
Schultz and LLC staff,
Because,
subcontractors.
Was our signature will be on.
Carol, this isn't the time to start to learn contract law.
Oh, I studied actually in college.
All right, then you have your mind set up and we can make a motion and we can vote upon it. And that's how this works. So if someone will make a motion,
I'll make the motion.
and we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Good?
Yep.
Oak Alley project, I'll leave that up to you, even though Brian and we all walked around. That's a project we want.
So, I've got a little bit in the report. We had gotten to finalizing it, and the water crew, through some issues that they had out there, found that the water lines were somewhere different than they had expected them to be and are fairly shallow. So at this point, they're re-reviewing the plans against the now known location of utilities to determine if modifications need to be made to one, the other, or both, to be able to put in the improvements that we're looking at, because the water line turns out to be very shallow and maybe both a construction issue and a maintenance issue down the line. So that is in review, so that has slowed that process down, unfortunately.
By how much
to
did
be
it slow?
determined.
What?
By how much did it slow? I'm sorry, Michelle.
Right, we can't submit it for final review to the funding agency, and we can't go out to bid until it's resolved. So we'd expect it to be going out to bid now, I would say at least 2 months, if not more.
2 months.
So it depends on what they come back with and what modifications need to be made, and in looking at that, the cost implications of those modifications, so. That will be one of the themes, unfortunately, tonight, is it's not been going easy.
On a good note, the T-ball field has moved very successfully. The guys did a terrific job.
Yeah, it looks good.
It looks like, yeah, it was never pulled out from somewhere else and moved. It looks very good. So that's completed. Pool parking lot demolition, we are waiting on an E&S permit.
We're waiting on the ENS permit from Essex County.
Now, I don't wanna hold Brian liable for what he said, but he said we should have that in the next month.
He said 3 or 4 months.
We actually, the first go, it was going to be easy. Then when we got the plan in front of them, they wanted to go full-blown review. We had to talk them down. One of their folks had just done a pool removal, was in agreement, but we had to pay a fee for the review, and that's why it took a little bit more time than we thought. The initial review process, because of what Toad Creek being there and what it is, with special characteristic waters, which we run into before, they wanted post-construction stormwater measures to be installed, and no. So we got that taken out, so all we're doing our construction, because we're gonna end up with less permeable area than we start with. So I think we're good there. Unfortunately, it's a story of what we thought was gonna be like this, is like this in time. And until we get that first letter, I don't know for sure that they're buying in on the amount of impervious area that we're gonna have. So we need that first review by the review.
So how much time?
I honestly don't know. It's a regulatory agency, and in this case, they have not reviewed it yet. So until we get that, we don't know.
Well, most likely we're running into paving season anyway, so most likely it's not happening until fall. So let's just hope we have it permit by then.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The property within Borough's watershed property in Long Swamp Township off of Woodside Avenue, I guess it's the HOP agreement.
Yes, I had prepared the HOP agreement for the borough to serve as the applicant for the HOP and the property owners to assume costs and any liability.
What happens, Sean, if we don't approve this?
PennDOT,
Can we not approve it?
you should approve it because PennDOT will not allow the private owner to be the applicant. So you can refuse to approve it, but you'd be holding up the HOP.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Did the property owner know that they had to get an HOP from us when they bought the lot?
Did they know that they had to get an HOP for it?
Through the borough?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what.
That
what
would
they
be a
knew or
yes.
didn't know.
That would be a yes. We knew that, we got all the.
You knew that there was a chance that we might not give you the permit then?
Well, the guidelines were sent to me by the previous seller, and we knew what was involved, but I was not told that it wouldn't be an option, because then you would be landlocking the property. It's the only way in.
Just asking.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm voting against you.
Okay.
It's just a question.
Go through this.
No, I mean,
We went through this in
Yes.
2020 with a prior owner.
We ran into all sorts of trees had to be put in, and he wanted us to pay for the trees, and
Pay for what?
That's why you have to do the agreement.
Right.
This is, PennDOT requires that the property owner, the property that actually fronts the railroad, the road right away.
yeah.
Be the one that has the HOP for
Right.
the driveway.
And the township, or the borough is required to be permitting.
Yeah.
So if we don't approve it, the borough will have the property landlocked. then?
Well, it is now.
Right, the property
It's just an
is
easement.
They have
landlocked.
an easement now.
We're not,
But there's
right,
an easement.
Okay.
Yeah.
right, and PennDOT requires an HOP for that easement. It's keeping the property legal.
Yes.
Having a legal, entrance to the property off of a state road.
Yeah, and I think that there's actually access from Home Road to this property. It's been 15, 20 years, but.
The trail degrades rather quickly once you get past this year.
I'm just saying.
It is technically still
It's
there.
still be
I
a
think
right of
there
way.
is a right of way where.
It is still
access
technically there.
At the curve.
Excavation can be much more considerable on that side though.
Will this affect any of our water lines usage?
No, I mean, again, the same thing as anybody else who's gonna do any work up in there, they're gonna be held to, you can't build here, you can't build there, you can't dig here, you can't dig there, this has to be whatever, I don't know all the numbers, but it's, 300 feet from this, 150 feet from that kind of thing.
Right, the wellhead is still protected. because
Yeah.
There has to be an isolation distance around the
I mean,
wellhead.
our water sources are all around it, so.
Right, that's a public water source.
But then they will be digging a septic
Mhm.
close to one of our water sources.
No, there has to be an isolation distance again.
Well, that's what
Okay.
Yeah.
they'll have to be certain distances away
Right,
from all
and that
that
has to,
stuff, yeah.
and, right, and
There's
that,
also,
that,
this is
and that would
just
have
a
to be.
water line and a gas line that run through it.
And there's a couple of power utility lines underneath there too, so I don't know.
That depends on
Yeah.
the distance from the line.
You said what lines run under there, different ways.
There's water and radio and gas.
Well,
Gas
if
line.
it's,
And electric.
if it's 150 feet, if it's within 150 feet, they would have to connect to the public sewer. If it is more than 150 feet, then the mandatory connection doesn't come into play.
So you're looking for approval of the HOP?
The agreement regarding application for HOP, yes.
I do have one question while you're here. The property now with the county is clean and green. Is it going to remain that way?
Yes.
It's gonna be used as a residence.
Single family.
Yeah.
I believe as a residence, what's currently gravel easement, and that has to be paved, is that correct?
I believe so, it's long swamps, they require asphalt. Just from people I know.
Most of them require an apron of like 50 feet from the road going out of asphalt as a minimum. Most townships. But not the entire thing. That's on long swamp, like you said.
Yeah, it would be their zoning. I don't know if anybody have thoughts on it.
I mean, this isn't the one that concerns me.
What's that?
I said, this isn't the one that concerns me.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I mean, we've been asked for a motion to approve, if that's what we feel.
I'll make that motion that we approve the HOP application.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You wanna take this one, Charlie? We had a meeting last week with the startup of the Recreation Committee. A good turnout, by the way.
Yeah.
To start with the new master plan or a revised revision to the master plan for the park. It's all yours.
I didn't get to talk to Brian since he was traveling on vacation as soon as he got out of your meeting, basically. Since he delayed that departure for your meeting.
Yeah, that's all right. We had a lot of good discussion. It was probably, what, a 2 hour and a half meeting?
Yeah, probably about just a little under 2 for the meeting itself, and then, good conversations afterwards.
Only June 12th is our
June 12th will be the next, yeah.
next Parks and Rec Committee meeting.
The time?
6:30?
6:30.
And we'll probably be meeting in the park because the planning commission meets here at 7.
Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, park restrooms, hours of use, discussion on current open hours, which are 6 AM to 2 PM right now. You're asking if we wanna change the hours and approve that. What are your feelings on having these bathrooms open later?
Have we had any issues so far this year?
It came up because one of the doorknobs died, like the lock itself died, and it cost like $800 to replace. So.
That isn't anybody's fault.
That's not anybody's fault, right? It was a piece of
That's-
equipment that just wore out, you know?
That was-
But at $800 a pop to replace it, we started thinking of, maybe people should just police themselves rather than us setting hours on when bathroom can be open, when it can't be open, because without the electronic lock, somebody has to be responsible for coming over and opening them and closing them, and if you don't, just thinking about it in general, nobody really had one way or the other to
Did
go
we get that
specifically.
handle? Did we get the handle?
It had to be installed. It
Yes.
had nothing to do with the timer. It was the actual handle for the door.
But now the timer works. Now we can lock it at,
It works
Using
with the
the
timer
timer.
now, yes.
so we should still keep some kind of hours at least.
We limited it because.
Right now, we still have.
Right, that was last year.
It was, actually, it was 2 years ago
Oh,
that it was those major
Yeah,
issues that we had, and that's what.
it was getting messed up, so we
Big
kept
time.
locking it when the kids got out of school so that they couldn't mess up after school, but.
And try it for a while.
Do we wanna extend the hours for the summer since the park is being used until 9 o'clock at night?
I mean, yeah,
They can't come to our park because they
the
have.
thought process is you'd like them to be open, and for the most part, so people can use them when they need to, I would say leave them open and see what happens, if it's-
24 hours straight through.
No.
I don't
I
like that.
wouldn't let them open overnight.
No, I mean, you could have it, if we had the timers, you could set it to go off when the park closes.
I mean, since we had the timers on the door.
Yeah, we had to repair it, so.
Right. 9 o'clock, 6 AM to 9 PM.
8 o'clock.
Whenever the park closes, right?
That's
Yeah.
dusk.
It's
Yeah,
dusk.
so-
Except for the
dusk.
basketball court. That's-
So, and the thing is, so that means it closes at all the different times and to keep changing the timer.
Yeah, I get that.
It's a mess to change the timer.
I'm fine on mine. I mean, you're just picking an arbitrary number at that point.
The one that make it 6.
Yeah, I don't think we
go
wanna-
4.
No, yeah, that's fine, set to 9 o'clock.
That's just a discussion.
Yeah, we don't need a motion for that or anything.
Yeah, so
6
you can
a.m.
do it 6 a.m. to their
And we'll let you know how it's going.
Yeah.
The only thing is I did find out that, we had some kiddos using their pocket knife to get into the men's restroom. And when I came over, cause I had gone over and checked, cause I had to throw the lock on the women's restroom. And I had checked the men's right away, and it was clean. And when I came over the next morning, there was a tad of, urine on the floors.
So
That
it
they
was
had-
used,
They had
jimmied it
urinated
open.
on the floor, yeah, they used their pocket knife to jimmy the lock open, and then urinated on the floor. Which that was easy to clean out.
It's in the
Do you,
outbreak.
do you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, bad
through your network, do you have a way of determining what individuals were involved?
Yes, I do, yeah, yeah, I know. That was-
Were you thinking about speaking to parents or?
I spoke to them,
Okay,
yes, it was a heated discussion.
thank you
I
very
don't think
much.
it'll happen again.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Eric. Michelle, you're up.
All right, currently there are no payment plans for water and sewer. Just a reminder to people, if they apply for a payment plan prior to it being due, then they avoid the $10 late fee. Often it's happening after it's already late. Upcoming due date is May 25th. Another reminder that the office is closed on Monday, May 27th. Since last quarter, we've had 17 meters changed out, so the number of zero read accounts continues to decline. The DECA meter arrived last week, but we don't know when it will be installed. That's on DECA to get that taken care of. The medical extension we granted did not pay, so now they owe the last bill and the current. They have an additional 37-day notice for the policy to pay the bill. Termination is scheduled for June 17th. Currently, over half of the accounts, which is a little over 700, are unpaid.
Couple mornings.
Yeah, so that's continuing to be an issue. And we have the East Barclay Street water main project. So we have to discuss the revisions to the cost estimate and approve the submission to PADCED for consideration. Charlie?
So the original project was only about half funded. That was included the paving all the way through and line between home and Haas. In looking at accommodating the partial award, we would be looking to install the line from home through Carroll, and connecting in that area, and being able to do the trench restoration only, and for, instead of milling overlay the road. So that's what the cost I put in front of you is. That uses the $185,000 grant, and then about $32,000 in your funds, with 12,000, almost 13,000 of contingency included in there.
Okay.
Which is the 7% that's allowed.
Right.
So prices are in line with what I've been seeing this year on water lines.
So, That is what it is, they didn't give us all the money we wanted, so I have to scale the project back.
So the process here is we turn this in, if you approve, to the funding agency to get their concurrence that this fits
Right.
the grant. And then you again get steps so that if things occur that you aren't ready to spend the money, we don't have to go forward. You got some time with the grant, it doesn't expire that quick, that good for some people.
So we'd be looking for a motion to approve submission to the PA DCED for the
I'll
consideration.
make that one.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Then is the Washington Street Pump Station, which again? Charles.
So I did not have any contractor interest in it, got to talking with the contractors to see why I didn't get bids. And site constraints was one of the big ones that came up between the trees and our limited property there. So I promised Stacy when I met last week that I'd do some more follow-up there to be able to turn it around. What I think would make a difference there is if we could get an easement, pursue with the ball field to be a construction easement for the property adjacent to the pump station so that the contractor can set up, not underneath the large trees, to be able to do the work and pull out through. So that, I think, makes a difference. The other one I've got to do is give them a little more time. Equipment delivery is such that that's a problem. If we can get that, if you're in agreement of pursuing that, I'm happy to go ahead and start the processing, reletting it, just need to re-advertise. And we can pursue those easements as we go through the process.
What is
It's not
required to do that?
graphite then.
Yeah, basically,
Getting
getting,
a temporary.
yeah, it's.
Yeah, we'll do up an exhibit and
Is it
just
just
one-
something they have to sign off on?
Yes,
Okay.
a construction easement doesn't get filed. We have standard formats. I'd have Joan do a quick review
Right.
based on the description we draw up. And we just then need the property owner's signature.
Just a temporary easement today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we do routinely.
They don't
Well, I
have
think
to be
it's
recorded, so.
Certainly worth pursuing because it's
Well,
gonna open up,
we have-
nobody wants to do the
we
job
have
right
to.
now,
Yeah.
right?
So,
We
so,
have to.
Yeah.
And that has to get done, so.
Yes.
we
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
I will make, do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
So we're making a motion to create a construction easement?
To authorize a
authorize.
a temporary construction easement as part of a reletting of bids.
I make a motion of what Joan said.
And I'll second what Jim said.
All in favor?
It's just easier than trying to say. it.
Any opposed?
okay.
Charlie, I did have a question on that one. I know we had spoken about paving Washington Street in conjunction with that, but.
It's just the intersection and I'm gonna call it an alley because it looks.
Well, that was part of the original because
Yeah,
of
we
what
won't-
needed to be
we weren't
dug
gonna
up,
do
but
anything.
we're not gonna go any.
No, we're just
Okay.
gonna do, so we're avoiding the need to do the, handicap ramps, because they would not be fun at that intersection and be expensive. And you're not gonna force people then to do sidewalk and curb.
How would that work though if that's an alleyway? Because I mean technically that's not a road, we don't have to put
So
curbs.
Washington Street's what would trigger it. If we did too much of Washington Street, I can avoid,
I get you.
I can avoid needing to do enough to trigger liquid fuels requirements on
Because
that.
we'd have to put sidewalks all the way along Graphite's property. Correct?
Well, that was, at the time, it was up to us whether we were going to
Right.
force people to redo all of their sidewalks or just the curbing and,
Yeah.
you know.
We went
since
with just
graphite-
curbing.
We went with just curbing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody had that and I don't feel like talking about sidewalks.
Yes. Good for you.
Sorry I brought it up.
And lastly, the wastewater treatment NPDES permit update.
Yes, so we finally got the draft NPDS. You guys changed this all by asking about it last month. So the two colored sheets, and I'll explain, is the draft permit.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was reading.
Yep, that's fine. I will go through it for you. So all the things in yellow are carryovers from the last permit. So they're no change. The parameters that I wrote the letters DRBC on are part of your DRBC document. So if you go to so nothing on the first page is red, they're blue. Blue are additions for testing to the DEP permit. You'll notice that on the first page, for instance, both of the items that have blue highlights are also labeled DRBC. That's because you were already required to do them under DRBC, so while they're added to the DEP permit, they're not actually added. So that's good news. The second page, the red items are parameters that are changed or added to the permit. The blue is still reporting. So most of it is, you'll notice at the top is, the blue is per DRBC. E. coli tracking is new. It is not required, was not previously required by anything. It's a straightforward test. It's not one of the expensive tests, but it's there. Total dissolved solids was a DRBC requirement that is now added, the red there for the permit, so it doesn't impact. Unfortunately, I can't say that about the bottom two items. While phosphorus was a DRBC monitor requirement, it has a discharge requirement. It had in the past been one of the things that the plant had faced. Why this is significant is this requires the addition of another chemical to remove it, or back again. So alum is a chemical feed that will have to be added. Both it and the copper, which I'll touch next, I'm going to write a letter to DEP about the additional costs that these will incur you. I don't expect it to have any sympathy on their part because they're tied with some federal and water quality issues, but we still want to put it on record in case we have problems meeting, especially the copper, and need to negotiate penalties and fees. That'll put Joan in a better position to negotiate them. So the phosphorus limit is achievable, and it generally achieves it, but we're going to need to add chemical to make sure we achieve it. So that's a cost. Copper has gone down. It was 0.059, and it was 0.025, and it's 0.022. Doesn't seem like much, but they even said that last year you would have had 8 violations versus the 3 you had with the new requirements. So that means he gets rid of this with currently chemical addition. He's going to have to up his chemical addition. The challenge is, so that you're on note, one of the challenges is your potable water actually has a higher limit of copper than the discharge limit at the wastewater plant. That's one of the reasons we put in the recycling system a few years ago, where we're using effluent water as much as we can in the plant, was to get out potable water from the process as much as possible to cut that. So there's some concern on Alex's part about him being able to meet lower, although it doesn't seem like much, it's a 10% drop. The real challenge is if he has real trouble making that parameter, the next step is filtration, which is a capital cost. And if right now, in the permit sheet, there's most of a page of violations. What DEP does on discharge violations from wastewater plants is they let them accumulate until either there's a really bad issue or there's a new pattern of discharge violations, and then they'll send you a notice of violation. If we get a notice of violation on copper, it's likely that we will have to do a structural alternative to clear that up. That's not good news. There's not much we can do about it right now. I'm gonna work with Alex to see if we can find any other ways to take care of that. But I needed to let you know the significance of the impacts of these. That's one of the reasons we want to write that letter, is the cost of doing the chemical. We need that. We want that on the record so that if we're suddenly whacked with violations, that's there. So that's unfortunately the story, so, we can make phosphorus. Copper is gonna be more of a challenge for Alex running the plant, particularly if we get lots of rain. Because one of the challenges with more water through the plant is that changes how he needs to dose the chemical, but you can overdose the chemical and cause other discharge sensitivities. So he's not in a position where he can just dump chemical into the water to get rid of this parameter, because that can cause him problems otherwise. So when you get high flows into the plant, that can really cause a disruption to chemical treatment.
Do we have any idea what kind of cost we're talking?
He
Just
was-
with where we are now?
He was getting some of that together.
Well, I
so
know we
could
went
write
back
that.
up on the number in the budget this year, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna be enough.
No, so he's still putting that together. So he's ordered the first run of alum so that it's ready when this permit takes effect, which should be 45 days or so type deal. But yeah.
Charlie, who makes these changes to these limits? We're at 10% lower now, is that
So what they do,
DEP or who does it?
DEP does. So this is the packet that we got as and yes, it's dog-eared already, as the draft permit included in here, and I know Stacy has a copy, you can borrow mine because I highlight parts of it. But what they do is they take your results and they take stream sampling and then stream characteristics, and Toad Creek is an important stream. And they run analyses. And in the case of this, they ran 2 for copper, and they actually took the less stringent result. So there were 2 results, and one was more stringent than the limit that's here, so they took the less stringent result, which is why I'm not sure there's gonna be great grounds to convince them to do anything else. But that's what they do for every parameter. Now, one of the big challenges is that what they have is an anti-rollback policy, and that's once they've set you at a limit, they're not gonna loosen it ever. And so some of the criteria, the results, the analysis says, oh, that could be higher, but since it's already lower, that's it.
So that's based on the value of the stream, that's how.
Stream and dry flow.
Okay.
So the real challenge is that you're at the head end of the creek. There's it starts right out here. So not a whole lot of water in the summer in that stream. The plant is a significant portion of the flow at the points that it's at. The other challenge is the area that the plant's in is ag, and the area suffers from ag pollution. In fact, there were cows in the stream in the previous time we were going to find out stuff. I think it's a little better now, but the stream is impaired by ag pollution, so that's one of the reasons. They made a mistake last time, didn't put phosphorus in, they were supposed to. So they put it back in, and that's one of the things that drove that, was the fertilizers and cattle. So that's also what's driving the E. coli.
Great.
Happy.
That is the end of my part, but, just a kind of quick question for the group. There's 2 things that, I would like to put in the next newsletter, if everybody's on board with it. The first is, there was a lot of questions going around about the letters that come out with the bills that say, we think you might have a leak, those ones. I was hoping to put something together, and I'm happy to run it by everybody before it goes in there, but just a little information about that, because apparently a lot of people were offended by it for some reason, and just a little information as far as what it means to have a leak, because I still feel like everybody feels like it means there's water gushing out of your wall, which is not necessarily the point. And the other one was, we are coming up on the 2 years for the Hometown Heroes. So I would like to just put something out there, just reminding people that, you know, after 2 years of them being up, they're gonna start to come down and go back to whoever bought them, and just kind of a FYI, we're coming up on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm also doing Hometown Heroes quick. We're just waiting on one check yet for this last order. If I don't hear back from the last person, probably by Wednesday, I'm gonna put the order in without them, because school's almost over. I gotta get them up to Mr. Mark,
Right.
in order to get them done, because he's in the end of school push here, so. I'm gonna give him a couple more days, but before this week's out, I'm gonna get them up to him to get them approved. And then we'll have 111 up, I think. Once those come in, I think that's where we are.
112 if the person pays.
Yeah. If the last one, yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, Charlie, I guess you got more?
I unfortunately have a few more. Sorry. So on the water supply well, working with DEP, because of the Rod and Gun Club, they would like to see some background lead tests for water in the area, so we're doing some reach out on that to get that. There's some monitored wells on the fire company property, so we're reaching out to see if we can get some testing or do some testing on that. So that was one of their little flags. As Stacy mentioned, we were actually out this afternoon. The roof the material was on. The good news is, I do have some for today. None of the decking was damaged such that it needed to be replaced. So we saved those funds. So that was good news. All they have left to do is the metal work, the trim, edging, and that. Unfortunately, we are scheduled for rain this week, so they'll do that this week as they're able to. And I believe the HVAC people were scheduled in later this week to do the final hookups on some of the stuff. So we should be to punch list hopefully this week. So that's good. And then the last item that's independent there, one of the things that over the last couple of years that has been brought up due to the flooding down here in the park at home was there was some thought that culvert was over halfway full of material, and there was some interest in opening that up to alleviate the flooding at home. The concern is and was that by doing so we might just move flooding problem down to the next area. The only way to really determine the order we should do mitigation on the stream would be to do a flood hazard study. And so we've been looking for ways to get that paid for you. So the option we found, and unfortunately we found it fairly recently, was there is a grant program out there that will fund these type of things, potentially. You're not guaranteed to get it. This program does require 15% match, so we're talking 3,500 or something like that. That would be required. So that's what's in front of you on that resolution. Why we were looking at that. The challenge is that you've got the big culvert at home. We've got the bridge next to it. The stream then comes and whacks into the railroad berm, and then it goes under Haas Street. And we know that to be a constriction. The last point along there that may not be a constriction is where it goes under the railroad. So the study would be going from that, where it goes under the railroad, including that, all the way back to where it's free at the north end of the culvert that runs along and then under home. It isn't something you have to do. No. This was just something that had been brought up, so we found the program. I wanted to give it to you. Unfortunately, it's a short time frame for submission. It is something that they do annually, so choose not to do it this year. It's also probably not gonna get announced until.
A year from now.
Right, they're going,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Essentially what we're looking at is, I mean, I think all of this is kind of a moot point because eventually it crosses into Norfolk Southern's land. They're not gonna do a damn thing about anything, so we can clean up everything and it's just gonna sit there anyway. But, in essence, what we're looking at is if we get it, it's gonna cost us $3,500 or so
Yes.
to study where the water's gonna flood. Is that something we feel we wanna do?
I don't feel like we need to do it. Anybody from the audience?
Charlie, you said about the flooding, is that right here?
Mm-hmm.
And whose house was getting flooded?
The house on the end,
The, next to the old basketball court?
on the north side of where the culvert is. They put up walls and all.
On the alley, the house on the alley.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep, that whole area floods pretty heavily. Not.
I mean, I guess my thought is there anything we can realistically do about it, or is that just the area? Because I mean, even if we find out where the water's gonna flood,
But there are some things you can do along a stream, and the big challenge would be the culverts under Haas would be a PennDOT and railroad, within railroad right away, but a PennDOT project. And then stream improvements along the railroad would likely be, needed to be done in cooperation with the railroad.
They don't live in their basement anymore, but.
The stream is fairly overgrown, and you had flooding actually on the north side of the railroad at Haas last year, I believe. So, where that was.
On the east
2
side.
years ago.
East side farm. On your
No,
property?
they're saying that on the north side, yes, that hurricane or storm Isaiah, since then, it's been a flood zone.
would be the north
It hadn't
side.
before.
Yeah, that's the only building that
Or the
would be
lead.
involved.
Yeah, I don't know,
If you don't wanna go for it now, you don't have to.
I feel like we have so many things going on
Yeah.
that, you know, I mean, if there was a more pressing concern or a more,
You should always get further along.
something we could do about it on the other end of it, you know?
Well, I would say that though, get the rest of the project out of the way, that makes some sense, but you'll need to do it before you do a drainage improvement project to alleviate the flooding.
Sure.
Otherwise, you'll give Jim a lot of work.
I don't need more work, I've got plenty. What's going on with the chlorine compacting?
We need the agreements all signed, and then we can go through, you can't expend any funds until all the grant agreements are signed, and that just takes a little while.
And the grant's approved, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, do
Then-
we have any kind of time frame?
It should be fairly fast, they're just sandblasting and coating, so it's we've got a very minor fee in, so we expected to have that out to bid within a month.
It would just be nice to say we got something done. 'Cause
Yeah,
It
that's
just
the-
feels like everything is 2 steps forward, 10 steps back.
Yep.
you know?
It has been a brutal
Yeah.
period. I've had.
Although the roof's almost done, that's
Yes.
something.
Yes. Yes.
3 months of the guys have had an unexpected skylight. Alright, Monica, anything else from the ambulance board?
I just have a question. Stacy, did you hear anything on the LSA grant or no for them? I don't know
Is it
how long
statewide?
that takes, huh?
Is it the statewide one?
They went through us for that. They had to go through.
Yeah, so the LSA grants, we did get notice today that, at least 2 of the ones where we worked on are in review. So there's a really little chance that they might announce this month, really little.
Okay.
It's probably 2 or 3 months on
Okay.
their track record.
Okay, thank you.
It's painful.
Thank you, Monica. And Carol, anything from the preservation board?
Yes, I wanted to, before we leave Monica, could you tell me, do you know off the top of your head, what the average response time for the ambulance was like 2 years ago?
Off the top of my head, no.
I think I read here that there's, right now, the average response time is 2 hours.
No. Oh my God, no. Where is that coming from?
That's great.
I thought it was written here somewhere.
Their response time has not changed since, are you,
That's what I was wondering.
no,
Did it change?
no. Taking over the additional municipalities has not changed response time in any of the area, whether it would be here, Long Swamp, or Kutztown, Maxatone. No.
Okay, great, thank you.
I don't know, we'll discuss it.
Does someone have a specific example of any of that, or a complaint or something?
The ambulance?
So the two
No?
response.
Okay.
My comment is they're doing wonderful.
Yes, they are. That's why I asked them that
For
question.
them in the past year, they have been responding almost within 5 minutes. They're
Mhm.
fabulous with
Yep.
their response time. And kudos
Cause they
to
have,
the top of the ambulance.
yeah, and sometimes they do kind of sit, you know, depending what could be going on in the area or what have you, they do kind of locate based on that as well here, and then they have their thing out at Maxatone building, but okay.
Discussed,
I'm thinking of
insurance, giving notice, that had to be done during public meeting.
Yeah, we don't know where that is.
I wait to wait on that, I thought we could do that since we already discussed it.
You probably know how annoying it is to have.
Did you have a reservation board information?
I do. We did not have a meeting with the reservation board, but Larry wrote up all his activities for the month, which I think we all got in our packets. Want to mention for sure the annual anniversary for the museum. It's Saturday, September 14th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's lovely anytime council members can show up. Larry puts a lot of work into that, so.
Great.
And we actually have someone from the planning commission here today, and we got good news today. Oh, sorry, I can't see both of you because of Debbie. Okay, and yeah, Monica is secretary. We did receive the grant along with the other municipalities to do the joint comprehensive plan. Yay.
They're paying how much? Was that working out?
It's in the budget, I can get back to you on that, but it's at the end of the meeting and it's been a long meeting, so I can get back to you.
And the other municipalities have covered the cost for us, so it's less than what would be in the budget. I don't know offhand, but you got
We can get back to you on that, Carol.
Yep, Rockland District to pay.
Then I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you everybody for coming out.
Ethan, you can't leave, Michelle, there's one thing, let me just, can I mark down the?
You may.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, they generally won't. So, like I say, we put in for, we wanted
I
to
think you want to say something.
and they did.
The big paper clip puts the whole thing together and then
Correct,
it's one.
and then there's one agreement that will need to be